recording of the meeting and the live streaming now.
Welcome everyone to the Ordinary Council meeting of the Wellington Shire, the 2nd of May 2023. Members of the public gallery should note that Council records and publishes Council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of Council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on Council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate times during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the Council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the Council meeting but who wish to communicate with the Council via the online web form should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please could gallery visitors, councillors and invited online attendees ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Our mission: working together to make a difference. We listen and lead to provide quality services that improve life for all. Wellington Shire Council acknowledges our offices are located on the traditional lands of the Gunai-Kurnai Nation. We pay our deep respects to their elders past, present and future and acknowledge their ongoing cultural and spiritual connections to their land and waters. Do we have any apologies? We don't today. Do we have any declarations of conflicts of interest? No? Item 3.1, adoption of minutes of previous council meetings. Can I summon to move that, please? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the Ordinary Council meeting of the 18th of April 2023.
And someone to second that? Councillor Stevens. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Happy with that, Councillor Wood?
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 4, business arising from previous meetings, there are none. Item 5, acceptance of late or urgent items, there are none. Item 6, notices of motion, there are none. Item 7, outstanding petitions, there are none. Item 8, is there any invited address and presentations or acknowledgements? Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple of acknowledgements. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the 46 students and 6 teachers from the Gippsland Grammar School on a very successful inaugural Anzac Music and Language tour by the concert band and choir. They travelled to France, and while in Paris they performed the French national anthem La Marseillaise at the Arc de Triomphe, so I'd say that was a triumph. And from Paris they travelled to Amiens and the Somme and then to Belgium to perform at the Minion Gate Memorial as part of the Anzac ceremony there. So I'm sure that was a life-changing experience for all those students involved, and a really great initiative of the school to acknowledge the fallen at the place that they fell over Anzac Day. So congratulations there. And also on a lighter note was that it was a great privilege to stand in for you, the Mayor, at the launch of the ever-popular Shakespeare Festival with my colleagues Councillor McKenzie and Councillor Ripper also attended, and the CEO. We did think he was auditioning for the stage next year. Great fun was had by all, but a highly successful opening night and terrific youth groundwork. Youth theatre presented the Shakespeare in Peril in 3 parts. So this year they've actually really done a bit of a wordplay on pairs. The much anticipated and fun family free day is on Sunday the 7th of the Medieval Fair Day and Market, so that's really a popular event, and there's all sorts of events, so I encourage people just to type in the Stratford Shakespeare and find the program, and the grand finale is on Saturday the 13th of May with the Bard's Banquet, and there's still tickets there for that. But yeah, it's a well-attended, great fun events and great theatre to experience in Stratford.
Thank you, Councillor Crosley. Is there Councillor Ripper?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to do an acknowledgement on our past Anzac Day last Tuesday. The 25th of April is the National Day of Commemoration of Australia and New Zealand for victims of war and for recognition of the role of their armed forces. It marks the first major military action fought by Australian and New Zealand forces during the First World War. Now, within the Wellington Shire, I'd like to thank all the RSLs and the volunteers within the RSLs. I went the day before in Stratford, who I'm a member of the RSL. I'm an ex-service person with 20 years service, who's served at East Sale for a total of 11 of my 20 years. Watching the women there and the men putting together wreaths was absolutely wonderful. Just the observation and the talk and the dedication of what they'd done. So that was just the day before. A lot of work had gone before. And also in all our RSLs within the Wellington Shire, a lot of work goes into before A, the dawn service, or B, the normal services during the day, by either ex-service people, service people, or volunteers, families. I just won't go on with, have lost loved ones in wars, in past times, and in not so far back. But setting up chairs, lifting chairs out by a lot of older people, lifting them in, but they still did it because they wanted to do it for their mates. The bands who played within the Shire, some of them played 3 or 4 areas on that day. The Light Horse reenactment, which was in Maffra this year, had been in Hayfield for a number of years. The vehicles that were provided for those that couldn't walk, that still wanted to be part of it. And for all those that marched, whether they be ex-service, whether they be marching with their loved ones' medals. And I would also like to thank my fellow councillors who attended to all those events, either dawn service, some people were up early, some people during the day. So I'd like to thank you very much, and what a wonderful event. And I know just one area I was at early in the morning at Stratford, we had over 300 people in Stratford. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Well said. Is there any other presentations or acknowledgements? No? Item 9, questions or notice, we have none. Item 10, Delegates Reports. Do we have any?
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to update the Delegates Report for Star of the South dated May 2, 2023. Last week, Star of the South submitted its feasibility licence application to the Australian Government's Offshore Infrastructure Registrar to continue developing Star of the South off the Gippsland coast, a journey that started in 2018. This is a huge milestone. It follows 5 years of work to bring offshore wind energy, jobs and investment to Australia. All offshore wind projects will require a feasibility licence, followed by a commercial licence to proceed to construction, and Star of the South look forward to learning the outcomes of the government assessment process later this year. However, even though Star of the South have submitted their feasibility application, work doesn't cease there. In the coming weeks, a specialist boat and crew will spend around 5 weeks at sea collecting soil and rock samples from up to 70 metres beneath the sea floor at 22 locations within the Star of the South 2019 exploration licence area. Collected samples will be analysed in a specialist laboratory and results used to inform wind farm design. These investigations are a critical next step in the project's development and are co-funded with the Victorian Government through the Energy Innovation Fund. Once again, Star of the South leads the way with its community engagement and consultation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Is there any other delegates' reports? No. Item 11.1, Assembly of Councillors. Someone to move that, please. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Councillor records for the period 10th of April to the 23rd of April 2023.
And someone to second that? Councillor Marr. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried.
Thank you, Mayor. Under Section 80A of the Local Government Act 1989, requires a written record be kept of all assemblies of councillors, stating the names of all councillors and council staff attending matters considered and any conflict of interest disclosures made by a councillor. However, under the new Local Government Act 2020, this requirement was no longer needed to be provided. However, under Council's good governance framework, Council will continue to provide records of assemblies of councillors to ensure that the community are kept informed of activities and participation. So I'd like to say, Mayor, that on the 18th of April, all councillors were present, and presentations from our staff and general managers were presented through workshops such as the parliamentary inquiries, review of the 2023 property revaluations, the March 2023 quarterly performance report, a report update from the Central Gippsland Health CEO, Development Division update on planning, municipal services and economic development, and also a presentation from the Greater Eastern Southern Offshore Wind Project update. This all helps towards allowing both our staff and council and councillors to make correct decisions for our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Item 11.2, adoption of 2023 property revaluation. Someone to move that, please.
Thank
Councillor
you, Mayor. I move that Council adopt the following valuation figures as at the return date of 1st January 2023. I'm comfortable that the figures on the screen are correct.
And seconded by Councillor Mackenzie. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors. The revaluation takes place each year now, and it used to be something a council did, but it's been taken on by the state government through the Valuer General's office. This is one of the purposes of this particular valuation for us in our cycle is, firstly, it helps us, well, it actually enables us to divide up and apportion the rates across the community, but it also feeds into our budget deliberations. There are many questions people have about valuations, especially where we've had a lot of the valuations going up. And I've actually just been reading on our website, there's some great FAQs on there that people should look up about the rates and valuations. Essentially, it's used by council simply to divide up the rates themselves, so that if everyone's properties went up at the same amount, no one's rates the proportion of rates they pay wouldn't change. So I certainly encourage people to have a look at that. If people do get their valuation notice, I think first week of July it might be going out, somewhere thereabouts. If they get the valuation notice and they're not happy with it, they think it's incorrect, there is a process they can request a review on it with the state government through an online form, and it's all explained on the rates notice. But this is something that people would have come through council to do before, but now that's all controlled by the state government. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Rossetti. Item 11.3, adoption of revised 2023 council meeting dates. Someone to move that, please. Councillor Marr.
I move that council adopt the revised 2023 council meeting dates and times as attached, and publish the revised 2023 council meeting dates and times on council's website. And
seconded by Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge and thank Councillor Rossetti for this suggested change that was discussed around the council table. It was felt that the 5 p.m. time frame provided more greater consistency and accessibility for our community councillors and our work colleagues. It does replace the 3 and 6 p.m. meetings that are on the first and third Tuesday of the month, and will commence as of the 6th of June 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marr. So now we're on to item 12, further gallery and online comments. So we have some people in the gallery today. If you'd like to come up, if you would like to address council, just state your name and you have 3 minutes to address council. Is there anyone that wants to do that?
to the gentleman earlier about a couple of situations. I live on Mustons Lane in Hayfield. We're hearing rumours that it's not going to get sealed anymore, and we haven't had any notification from the Shire since June 22, and we're just wondering what's going on. Because there's vegetation problems and so forth. If anyone else wants to have anything to say on that?
Probably if I refer that, you've already had it take to Chris Hasty, who's our GM in charge of that area. So probably Chris has got your details, has he?
Not yet, we just had a quick chat.
Yeah, if you can give Chris the details, he can follow that up and directly come back to you.
Yeah. The other issue was 6 generations of my family over the years have lived in the area. There is my surname. I found this plane in a state park amongst a heap of rubble left over from when the road was redone. I'm absolutely disgusted, as you could imagine. I tried to ring the Shire, I got the runaround. I was absolutely furious. So I went and saw an old family friend and knocked on his front door in Melbourne Hole. He said, I'll sort it out. Months later, I heard from a neighbour that a new sign had been put up. I went back and this was still laying in amongst all the concrete rubble left over from where the old concrete coal was ripped out. We spoke about that. I showed him some photos that I took this morning. The concrete's still there. I was told, Malcolm told me, I could get fined for having this sign. So I'm just asking you, ladies and gentlemen, what are we going to do with it?
So, if I can, Kirk. So Kirk and I had a chat about a couple of the issues that he's raised. Chris is now aware of them, our General Manager of Development, so we can look at the clean-up and the issues straight away. I have assured Kirk we're not going to fine him for having the old Pritchett's Lane sign. I can't recall when we did find somebody for having an old street sign, but Kirk, we're happy to have a chat to you. I mean, at the end of the day, if you'd like to, looking at Chris, if you'd like to keep that as a family memento or something, I mean, I'm sure we can have a chat to you if we've got a new sign in place. In relation to the other issues, we'll certainly follow up why there wasn't feedback from you. We'll send you a response. We'll certainly call you and send it in writing. That response gets copied to all councillors too, so they're aware that we've followed up to you from your representation today.
Thank you very much. The third issue is, I believe a mistake was made when our subdivision that I live on.
Kurt, maybe if you speak when you come back so we can hear. Yeah,
Sorry.
you're right.
I believe when the subdivision was made, when where I live at the moment, on 160 Mustons Lane, we have a very abusive neighbour. People are talking about selling up and shifting it away from him. What happened was, the easements leading into our property, instead of being a dotted line, they're continuous straight lines. And he's abusing people for walking on that easement. He's threatened my wife, he's threatened other women in the area. As soon as I had a go at him and told him not to threaten my wife again, he called the police on me. The police didn't even bother to come and see me. I had to speak to the local cops. They said, we're well aware of him, and then he shifted back into the area weeks ago. And I told him, don't abuse my wife again. He goes, righto. He said, look, try to ignore it, but it's a bit hard. When I showed the gentleman before, he went to a fence post in the middle of a neighbour's driveway. I missed it by that much when my wife was taking their digs back to their house because we were jewel sitting for them while they were on holidays. That was the reason for the abuse. Because my wife took a photo of it and sent it to the people. He tried to fence it off and then must have found out he couldn't fence off an easement. So he ripped it out and left gaping holes in the ground and concrete scattered everywhere. So far he has done nothing illegal according to the police. However, according to Victorian state laws, they have been living in this caravan on that property for weeks, even according to the police, and they're not allowed to be there for more than 30 days. So what can we do here? Because the whole neighbourhood is upset on tenterhooks, wondering what we can do.
So if I can, Mayor, thanks again for Kirk. What we'll do, I'll get one of the staff member, Andrew, who's sitting beside Chris, who's in charge of planning, to get your details. Yep. We can resolve the issues around the legality of the easement and what he can and can't do. In relation to illegal dwelling in a caravan, there are circumstances when you can extend that. For example, if you're constructing a house, you can get permission. Again, we'll look at those details, Kirk, but we need to investigate that. And again, we'll get back to you with a response, and that will be copied to all councillors. And hopefully that may take a little bit longer than the others. That may take a couple of weeks, but we'll certainly get back to you within a fortnight with an answer on both those issues.
Yep. All right. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Kurt. Anyone else come up? Yep.
My name's Mary, and I'm here about the...
Mary, can you just pull that down a little bit? Ah, perfect. Now you're
How's
on.
that?
Thank you.
It's still Mary, and I'm still got a few questions about the net zero thing for the electricity and regarding climate change. There's a lot of things that I don't really understand. I mean, you're all for the wind turbines that don't have a terrific long life. They have they cost a lot. They often, how often are they serviced, which costs a lot more? How long is their lifespan? And what's the impact on the wildlife, especially bird life? And how useful, how much electricity do they actually give you? They're not very good at that either. When their life's finished, they're not reusable, so they're buried. And well, the UK already has 100,000 tonnes per year of wind turbines, and the EU hides most of their dirty secret by burning them. And the same goes for the solar panels. They're not reusable either, and they don't have a very long life. And by 2050, the world will dispose for up to 78 million tonnes of panels per year. And it's really not very good for the environment. It's worse than what coal is. Apparently in Germany, they've stopped, they're getting rid of some of the wind turbines and going back to, I suppose, fossil fuel to supply their electricity because it's just not up to scratch. So that worries me. Even in making, what is it, the Neo-Dominion, I'm not very good at this, the main component in wind turbines, there's one lake, actually I'm not really sure where it is, but it's just kilometres of millions of tonnes of bubbling sludge made up of toxic chemicals and radioactive waste. Is this really what you want to leave to your children, your grandchildren, great-grandchildren? I think, you know, you were saying you've got to look into it more, or the state government has. I think they really need to look into it, certainly far more than what they are. They should have debates with people who are not in the same mode of following the narrative, and if it was that good, then you would have debates. You wouldn't just say, this is what we've got to do, shut up. So really, I'm asking if you can look into it far more than what you have so far. It's just, it's not something I want to leave to my kids and my grandkids, my great-grandkids, etc., etc. It's detrimental to the environment, much more than what we've got now. So that's about it, I suppose. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Did you have a list of those questions? If you can provide those to Chris and your details, we can definitely get a reply back to you.
Okay, well, I was very rushed, so I haven't got everything written down, but I've got a few pages that they can look at.
No problems at all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
So who do I give it to? Okay.
Or to Andrew, yeah. Did we have anyone else from the gallery that...
Thank you, Mayor and Councillors. I'm Veronica Barnes from Rosedale. And thank you for the opportunity to speak. Firstly, I would like to congratulate you on how you conduct your meetings with a closed meeting, I believe, separate to the general public. Is that right? I think you have a closed meeting.
No, just to answer that quickly, all our meetings are open to the public.
Right,
we have
okay.
workshops that we discuss things, but meetings are all open to the public.
Right, yeah, because last night I was with a friend who is a ratepayer in Latrobe, and the meeting was almost 3 hours in duration. So my reason for my visit today is to voice my concerns for the underage Pride event held, I believe, last night. I did email about this, my concerns, on the 19th of April, but was disappointed to not receive a reply. There seems to be a trend in Victoria to hold these types of events. This subject matter was spoken of in the Latrobe Council meeting last night. I must clarify that I do not have a problem with the 18 years and over age group, but I do have a problem with age group 12 to 17 years. As I wrote in my email, our children deserve safeguarding, not exposure to sexualised content as they navigate the difficult teen years. The 18 plus age group are adults. I respect their decisions, but 12 years old, particularly 12 to 16 years, exposing this age group to this type of content is entering dangerous territory, a slippery slope. So I ask you, why do you need to target children? That's my first question. A report on RT.com quotes from a CDC report that states in the US just over 7% of the US adult population identifies as LGBTQIA+, according to a Gallup poll published in February. The figure has risen with each passing generation, with 20% of Generation Z, those born between 1997 and 2004, identifying as LGBTQIA+, compared to 11.2% of millennials, 3.3% of Generation X, 2.7% of baby boomers, and 1.7% of those born before the end of World War II. According to the information, this increase is occurring in Western countries only. One has to question why. So, my question, I want to ask, has there been consultation with ratepayers or the community regarding the targeting of 12 to 17-year-olds in holding Pride events or the advertised Axios meetings? And if not, why not? I urge you to stop targeting our impressionable young people. I will close with a quote from Charles Chaput. Evil preaches tolerance until it is dominant. Then it tries to silence good. Thank you.
Just on that, Mayor. So, Veronica, what we'll do the same as and I do apologise because we did get your email and it's in the system about to sort of come to you, so we must have just missed you. So you'll certainly get that email and we'll respond to those matters also that you raised today, and a copy will go to all councillors as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Veronica. Is there anyone else? No? Is there any online comments?
None, Mayor.
None. In that case, we need to move into closed session. Councillor Rossetti.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to Section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider matters under Section 66(5)(b) as defined by Section 3(1), being F, personal information, B, being information which, if released, would result in the unreasonable disclosure of information about any person or their personal affairs.
And someone to second that? Councillor Stevens, is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried.
Mayor, but just given the question was raised in the presentations from the public, I think it's appropriate just to say the only reason we're going into closed session is because a councillor wants leave, and we don't like to advertise when councillors go away on holidays because it could be a security risk for them. So that is all the business that's being transacted in closed session, and typically, apart from the odd commercial contract we have to deal with, that's all we go to closed session for, and we love our meetings being open. Thanks for coming along.
No worries. Thanks, everyone.